everything that is remains with you and you within. Sin is the only thought that makes the goal of God seem unattainable. What else could blind us to the obvious and make the strange and the distorted seem more clear? What else but sin engenders our attacks? What else but sin could be the source of guilt, demanding punishment and suffering? And what but sin could be the source of fear, obscuring God's creation, giving love the attributes of fear and of attack? Let me remember that there is no sin. Love can have no opposite. You are the source of everything that is. Everything that is remains with you and you within. Father, I would not be insane today. I would not be afraid of love, nor seek for refuge in its opposite. For love can have no opposite. Love can have no opposite. You are the source of everything there is, and everything that is remains with you and you within. Let me remember that there is no sin, for love can have no opposite. You are the source of everything that is, and everything that is remains with you and you within. Lesson 259 of Course in Miracles, the workbook. We're going to read through these 2 paragraphs. We just sang the 2 paragraphs. Now we're going to read through, talk about the 2 paragraphs, try to get to the meaning of it, and also maybe some of the subtleties of the presentation. There's always, I think, some interesting wording that could be addressed, it could be looked at, and possibly some new ideas that Jesus might be bringing in, more or less for the first time. So let's see what we find. Let me remember that there is no sin. Now this is coming in the midst of a bunch of let me's. Let me remember what my purpose is, lesson 257. Let me remember that my goal is God, lesson 258. Now we have let me remember that there is no sin. Tomorrow will be let me remember God created me. Let every voice but God's be still in me. Let me not see myself as limited, that's 250. Let every voice but God's be still in me is 254. So there's a lot of let me's, right? Let this, let that. It's usually let me, right? Let me remember that there is no sin. All right, so let's read it and then we're going to talk about it. Paragraph 1. Sin is the only thought that makes the goal of God seem unattainable. What else could blind us to the obvious and make the strange and the distorted seem more clear? What else but sin engenders our attacks? What else but sin could be the source of guilt, demanding punishment and suffering, And what but sin could be the source of fear, obscuring God's creation, giving love the attributes of fear and of attack? That's paragraph uno, paragraph dos. It's a prayer, and in so many of these second paragraphs, sometimes it's the first paragraph, but oftentimes it's the second paragraph that is in all italics, and it's a prayer generally to God the Father, and this is no exception. It starts with Father. Father, I would not be insane today. I would not be afraid of love, nor seek for refuge in its opposite. For love can have no opposite. You are the source of everything there is, and everything that is remains with you, and you with it. All right, so now we are going to talk about, we're going to read through it a little slower. We'll talk about it, okay? So here we go. Let me remember that there is no sin. Now, just the title, most of these are let me remember, let me remember, let me remember, let me remember. All of these, there's 4 let me remember. So Jesus is putting an emphasis on remembrance. So why is he putting that emphasis on remembrance? Well, it should be obvious, right? Because we keep forgetting. we keep forgetting the simple truth. It's so simple. It's hidden in plain sight, right under our noses, and Jesus has been harping on it. How many pages now, right? Talking about it, and yet it's still not getting through completely, right? We still go back and forth. We still vacillate. We still waver. We still sometimes are in our right mind, but sometimes we're not in our right mind. Sometimes we do things that hurt others. We do things out of spite, out of envy, out of jealousy, out of anger, out of feeling of revenge. We say things to hurt people. We think things, and we take some of our thoughts seriously, and those thoughts depress us, right? Because we feel like having those thoughts means that I'm a bad person. If I have these malicious thoughts, or if I have these dark thoughts, that means that must mean I am bad, or there's something wrong with me, right? But let's be clear. Everyone has crazy thoughts. Everyone has insane thoughts. Everyone has even malicious thoughts, even thoughts that you might ascribe to your enemies. That you think, I can't have those thoughts. That I'm the good guy. I'm not a bad person. But we have to realize that everyone is really in the same boat. We all share the same mind. We all have an ego mind. We all follow the ego's thought system to one extent or another, and we all have the opportunity to follow the Holy Spirit's thought system as much as we will that, as much as we want that. We can follow the Holy Spirit's thought system, and that's what Jesus keeps saying is, you can do this, right? This is not impossible for you to do. I did, Jesus is saying, I did this. I went all the way with this. You can do it too. I am not any different or any better or any more special than you are. And some of us still think of Jesus that way, that Jesus is way up there. I can't possibly be like Jesus. There's no way I could be like Jesus, right? There's no way that I could be on that level. Jesus is saying, no, yeah, for sure you can be, right? Because I was a human being just like you. My son might come out here in a second. He's not feeling well and he's resting. So anyway, he might come out. Sin is the only thought that makes the goal of God seem unattainable. What else could blind us to the obvious and make the strange and the distorted seem more clear? All right, so the strange and the distorted is the ego, right? Ego thought system. We hold fast to this idea of sin. What is sin, though? And I think Jesus already defined it a little bit earlier, right? And actually, he wants us to keep going back, referring to what he said about sin. What is sin? Sin is insanity, is the means by which the mind is driven. This is page 419 in the blue edition, the third edition of the Foundation for Inner Peace. Sin is insanity, is the means by which the mind is driven mad and seeks to let illusions take the place of truth. We could maybe, if you want to reread that, we're not going to do it right now, but I did a whole video on that recently. Sin is the idea that we could be separate from each other and from God, right? Sin is the idea that because I have separated from God, because I have gotten my autonomy and I've gotten God out of the picture, now God is going to get me. God now is a vengeful, punishing deity that is now going to come and going to take back what I tried to take away from him. So I made God an unloving father, right? This is what Jesus said in the text, that we made God an unloving father. That's the ego. Is that true in the ultimate sense? No, not at all. It's not true. The atonement principle is that God has never changed. No matter what the ego says God is, that God is a deity or a person, a big person that gets angry, that punishes, that sometimes condemns, but sometimes is merciful. All of that, the Course basically, I hate to say it in these terms, I hope you don't mind, but basically Jesus saying that is BS. Right? That is the ego's spin, right? The ego in the spin room. The ego saying, oh no, God is going to get you, and I can offer you everything that you want. You just follow me, accept me, and I will give you what God could never give you, right? Something like that. Sin is the only thought that makes the goal of God seem unattainable. What else could blind us to the obvious and make the strange and the distorted seem more clear? So basically, as long as we follow the ego, what is strange to us, what is foreign to us, we take to be our home, right? We take it to be real. Jesus is saying it's the opposite. It's the exact opposite. Because we have accepted, because we believe in sin, because we believe the ego's lies, and because we've taken them seriously and taken it to heart, so to speak, we follow the ego and we think that's the truth, and we think that what the ego is, the ego thought system is the truth. And we think that the Holy Spirit is the lie, right? We think the Holy Spirit's thought system is the lie, and it's the opposite. And so we have to deny the simple truth in order to accept what the ego is telling us. It's like right in front of our eyes, and we deny it because we've bought the ego's propaganda, right? I could do a whole political video, but I'm not going to do that. but it's very similar, right, to politics and propaganda, that government propaganda, political party propaganda. What else but sin engenders our attacks? What else but sin could be the source of guilt, demanding punishment and suffering? And what but sin could be the source of fear, obscuring God's creation, giving love the attributes of fear and of attack? So again, this is a theme that Jesus brought in the text. Basically the idea that the ego wants us to think that God is our enemy, right? That's the ego's game. That God is not a good guy, right? God is going to get us, and what we can do, we have these feelings of sin, and the ego wants us to feel that these feelings of sin and guilt are very real and very true. And so in order to get rid of these things, we do some kind of offering or sacrifice, right, to get rid of our guilt, to get rid of our sin. And again, from the Holy Spirit's perspective, this is completely unnecessary, completely the ego running the show, right? As long as the ego is running the show, you're going to think that sin, guilt, sacrifice are all essential, right? And that, I just got to keep doing something to get rid of my sin, to get rid of my guilt. And what do? We project it. We project it out. It's someone else's problem. It's not me. I am innocent. I am the innocent victim. Other people are doing this to me, or the forces outside of me are doing this to me, right? I am the innocent victim. I am not the perpetrator. but Jesus keeps reminding us, no, this is, everything is starts and ends with your mind, with your choice. And if you perceive yourself to be victimized or unfairly treated, that is because you are choosing that, right? Not any other reason, right? No one is doing it to you. You are choosing that. You have chosen that, and that is why you are experiencing that. But you can start to do the inner work and do the practice, and little by little, slowly but surely, what you will find is you will have fewer and fewer instances where you feel unfairly treated, where you feel a victim, and you will start to see that the Course is true, right? For how long have you bought the ego's propaganda, and you are completely in awe and in service to that? And so this is going to take some undoing, right? And you really basically have to be open to the fact that you have been led astray, right? And that there is another way, and it's the opposite to what the ego has told us for eternity. Not eternity, but for eons. Let's put it that way. Since time immemorial, we have followed this thought system. And it is completely, let's use a fancy word, inimical to the Holy Spirit's thought system, meaning it is completely contrary to it. And what this Course is getting us to do is to wake up to this understanding that the ego is not our amigo, and that the ego's thought system based in sin, guilt, and fear is completely untrue. Not for a second is it true. Not, not any time has it ever been true. We can believe that it's true, and if we believe that it's true, we have been fooled. But it is not true in reality. And this, where we are right now, is not reality. We are in duality. And so in duality, we seem to have a choice, but in reality, we have no choice, right? Reality is you are one with, one with God, one with everything. There's no separation. There's no subject-object differentiation. There's only the oneness, right? The one love. But as long as you're in duality, there seems to be a choice, and the choice is between the Holy Spirit's thought system or the ego's thought system. One or the other. It's not both. You cannot have both. You can only have one or the other. So in each moment, we have a choice between those two thought systems. And we are incorrect to think that that's not happening all the time, that we always have that choice. And we can get to the place where we are in this remembrance. Remember the let me remember. We're in the remembrance that there is no sin all the time. And let me remember that there is no sin. It's just another way of restating the atonement principle. And the atonement principle is that God has never changed, and I am still as God created me. If I am still as God created me, and God is love, and God has never changed, then I am love. I also have never changed. My true reality is still intact. It's still what it's always been, and I just need to rest in that, and and well, let's say learn how to rest in that, and not take the lie seriously for a moment, not for a second, not for an instant, right? And this is all bringing us to the holy instant, where we have the experience of being home again, right? Of being in in that love once again, right? And we realize that that is home, and that is our eternal true self, and nothing else is real. Nothing else matters. Everything else is a lie to prop up the father of lies, which is the ego, right? Paragraph 2. Father, I would not be insane today. Remember, sin is insanity. I would not be insane. Jesus started, in that section I read, what is sin? Jesus started by saying, sin is insanity. Father, I would not be insane today. I would not be afraid of love, nor seek for refuge in its opposite. Right? I wouldn't seek for refuge in the opposite of love, which is fear, which is ego. Right? The ego's thought system is based in fear, and it's completely contrary, as I said, to love in this world. In reality, there is no opposite to love, and that's what Jesus says. For love can have no opposite. You are the source of everything there is. You are the source of everything that is. This is talking to God, right? God the Father. But it's also a statement of our reality as well, that you are the source of everything there is, and we are all part of that one source, right? And everything that is remains with you, and you with it. Right? So everything is still with God, right? At home with God, and that has never changed, right? So it's like clearing away. I think that maybe the best image, or one of the best images, is the image of a marble, piece of marble, and you got I don't know, who was it that did the statue of David? Da Vinci or Michelangelo? I forget. But you chip away until you get to the real. In this case, it would be the real, the figure, the beautiful, magnificent figure. That who would have ever thought that you could chip away stone and create that, right? And the Course is similar, saying something very similar, except we are not a body, so the analogy doesn't completely work, but we're getting closer and closer to our true self by letting go of anything and everything that is in the way. And what is in the way is these ideas, these false ideas of sin, of guilt, of fear, of attack, of judgment. All these things are in the way. The sooner we can let them go and get them out of the way, the sooner the sooner we will be back in the joy, in the love, in the peace, and we will be sharing that with everyone, and we will feel so much better than how we feel now, because we will be in our true self. Many people are talking about being, living your most authentic life, living the best version of yourself. This is the same thing, right? This is exact same thing, maybe getting at it a different way than the way a lot of people think about it, because a lot of people think about it in more materialistic terms or manifestational terms. This is the opposite, in the sense that we're just letting go of what's not true, right? Letting go of what's not real, letting go of all the false beliefs, all the misinformation, disinformation, and we're coming back to the only thing that has ever been real, which is love, and you could say the love of God, which is the let's say the one love where we are in a state of joy, and we're sharing that with everyone, right? We're in the love, in the joy, in the peace, and we recognize that that's all we are, and that's all we want, and that's all we need. So on that note, let's go back to our little song here. That there is no sin. Love can have no opposite. You are the source of everything, everything that is, everything that is. Father, I would not be insane today. I would not be afraid of love, nor seek for refuge in its opposite. For love can have no opposite. Love can have no opposite. You are the source of everything. Everything that is. Everything that is remains with you, and you with it. Really remember that there is no sin. Love can have no opposite. You are the source of everything, everything that is, everything that is remains with you, you with it. One love, shine on.